All right, we got, what, a month or so until the start of training camp? I don't think there's been an actual day.
I'm going to say 5 weeks,
Okay.
just a shot in the dark.
So you have been, John, you have been on the, I guess, the opinion that the Texans will add to the roster before the start of training camp.
For sure.
And I don't know. It's pretty late at this point, and you've already gone through basically your whole offseason, and I feel like it's a weird time to add guys. But listen, if you think they're going to add guys, I won't disagree with that. So I went through just kind of a list of possible free agents that are out there, and let's see if these guys might help the Texans. And I kind of just went mostly by position. Like I wasn't by team or anything like that because I think the Texans are pretty well set at that position. Do you think, is there a world where the Texans try and add another quarterback?
Oh, no.
You think they're good with Davis Mills and Case Keenum, and that they feel confident that if something were to happen to C.J. Stroud, those two guys would be adequate replacements?
Case Keenum is a coach, in essence, and might become a coach. And a world of experience, knows this offense like the back of his hand, etc. And Davis Mills has started games for this team.
They have C.J. Stroud.
That's why they got Stroud. So no, that is probably DFL. That's the last position I think they would add someone.
See, I thought that it might be something that you at least think about.
Yeah.
Just because we know what Davis Mills is at this point, and that's not somebody that you want starting games. Yeah, but listen, quarterbacks get hurt. You just saw it last year. C.J. Stroud missed 2 games last year. The Texans were able to win one of those games, but it wasn't because of the offense. It wasn't because the offense was able to hold its own.
Yeah.
The offense was not good in the game that they won. So, and it wasn't even Mills who started the game. Like, do you want Case Keenum starting a game for you if you need to win a game? So to me, that's an area that I at least have a meeting. Like, I at least say...
Are you thinking Ryan Tannehill? Is that what you're saying?
Ryan Tannehill obviously is one of the names that's out there. Trevor Siemian is out there as well. Listen, I'm not saying that I would 100% do it, but I don't want to be in a position where my whole season goes to hell if one guy gets hurt. And listen, it's not like Ryan Tannehill is able to give you half the production that you get from C.J. Stroud. I think is better than the 2 backups that they already have on the roster.
I think marginally better, and marginally better isn't going to change my opinion if C.J. Stroud goes down.
Yeah,
see that's the thing. Like, if C.J. Stroud goes down, I'm going to come in here, knock on wood, by the way, but I'm going to come in here and say, well, that's it. No matter who's the backup.
But if let's say he's got to miss 2 games.
Now, that's different.
Yeah.
If he misses 2 games, I'm probably good with the Mills and or Keenum. I think Tannehill, was he 36 now, maybe?
Is he really that?
35, 36. At best,
35.
Yeah,
he'll be 36 when the preseason starts.
Okay, so marginally better, maybe. So it's not going to change my opinion on that. Now, where I'm thinking is where everybody's thinking, and that is the running back position. We talked about it yesterday. The outside of C.J. Stroud, the position that you just don't want to have to rely on a backup. And I said running back was number 1 by a long shot. So number 1 by a long shot in terms of players you can bring in. And by the way, I think a lot of teams, and the Texans have done this in the past, they do bring in players either right before or during training camp. It's not real common, but they do bring in players. Cam Akers is out there. Dalvin Cook, for what it's worth, is out there. Latavius Murray is out there. Jerick McKinnon is still out there. I don't know how much I would, who or any of these guys I would absolutely take over Dameon Pierce, even at this point. But I would take another warm body, to get into the race. And Cam Akers, to me, is actually a pretty good option.
So the one that stood out to me was McKinnon, because that's somebody that can help you in the pass game. And as we've talked about, Dameon Pierce isn't somebody that's necessarily going to help you there. So if you lose Mixon for any amount of time, that's a big part of your offense that I think that you would lose out on. Just the passing aspect, using a running back out of the backfield.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something that Dameon Pierce would be able to do, or at least do at a decent enough level. I think that McKinnon could. That's why I think that's worth as just like, hey, you're not going to play. You're basically just the in case of emergency guy. And if something were to happen to Mixon, it would be Pierce on 1st and 2nd down, and then you'd be on the field for 3rd downs.
For me, it's Akers, kind of like a a running back version of Jeff Okudah. He's still 24. Yeah. Like he's young. He was drafted in 2020 and had a decent enough rookie season, kind of been hindered by injuries and such of late. But in 2022, your season before last, he ran for 786 yards and averaged 4.2 yards a carry. Bring that son of a gun in. Let's see the competition.
Yeah, he had the Achilles thing. He was bad with the Rams at the start of last season. They released him. It allowed him to go to Minnesota, and with the Vikings, he was okay. With the Vikings,
but again, injured. But okay,
yeah,
bring him in.
That's somebody that. But to me, though, that's somebody who pushes Pierce. Like that's somebody
that's what I want.
Yeah, see. I want somebody who's going to be able to do some of the things that Mixon can do. Just because
I get it.
Mixon hasn't been the healthiest guy in the world, and I don't want my offense to. I don't want to completely lose that aspect of the offense if something were to happen to Mixon. And I think the way that it's set up right now, they completely lose anything out of the passing game from the running back position if Mixon gets hurt.
Yeah. Is there anybody else, any other position that you could see perhaps bringing in another warm body? And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean, you're
safety.
Thank you. That's where I was going, Figgy. That's where I was going. Justin Simmons is still.
I can't believe he's still out there, man. What's going on?
Still out there.
Is he on TMZ or something?
Man,
I can't believe he's still out there.
Who was it we were talking about? And then we said, "Oh, that's why he wasn't."
Xavier Howard.
Yeah, Xavier Howard.
Yeah, he's on the list.
Justin Simmons, man, Pro Bowl safety. I get it. He's 30.
We was talking about him in free agency.
Yeah, let's sign that son of a gun.
And he's not the only safety that's out there. You have Eddie Jackson. You have Micah Hyde, Condre Diggs. Jamal Adams is kind of just an interesting name just because he's another big name. And I don't think he's that old, even though he's got a checkered injury past. I was looking more at front seven guys. Jerry Hughes is still out there, and I don't know if he has officially said that he's going to retire, but knows the defense, knows everybody on the team already. He might be one of those guys that just wants to sit out and not deal with training camp, and so maybe that's somebody that you look at further down the road. But I think that way he can come in and give you a handful of snaps here and there, and obviously he knows what you're already doing within the system. So that's one guy that I looked at. I think corners are another area where they could use some help just because you know about Stingley, but then it's question marks or rookies after that. Adoree Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, you got some older guys with Stephon Gilmore and Patrick Peterson. J.C. Jackson has kind of underachieved ever since he left New England. But these are other guys that you can at least look at and maybe push some of just again, you don't want bad players on the field. Like you don't necessarily need great players on the field at all times, but when you have bad players on the field, that's where you start to lose games because then you have guys that teams can attack. You don't want guys that teams can just say, hey, there's that guy. Go after him every single snap. That's what you're looking to avoid.
Yes, you are absolutely right. I think when you look like, okay, bad players on the field, we're still really just talking about backups here. So when you're when you're talking about that, keep in mind players are going to be either released or whatever from other teams pretty early in training camps as well. So there's some options and that's where it's most commonly brought.
That's where you get the waiver wire and that stuff.
That's where you most commonly add players. So the Texans are going to be doing the same thing. They're going to release some players and there's going to be some others out there. So that I just feel like this. There's still a lot of meat on the bone in terms of adding players.
Yeah, and you'll get good players that'll get released early in camp because they know that they're not going to make the roster.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so
it'll happen early enough.
So teams will kind of do a little bit of a favor. Yeah, exactly. And offensive line, I think that's always an area that you're looking at. We've talked about just tackle. I think that they're okay there to a certain degree just because I like Blake Fisher and Charlie Heck seems to be okay. Is there any other position that you say, you know what? They probably need to shore this up just a little bit.
Yeah, the top two by far are running back and safety. Linebacker. You know how I feel about these linebackers. I mean, now maybe one of these guys is going to absolutely star. I think we've seen enough to know that they won't. I mean, Jake Hansen, solid. Neville Hewitt, pretty much done, special teamer now. Jamal Hill, 6th round pick. Henry To'o, we mentioned him in recent days and weeks. Somewhat uneven. Linebackers are in a high impact, high injury position, even if it's just for a game or two. You got to have guys there.
So the best remaining free agent linebackers right now would be, it looks like Shaq Leonard, Zach Cunningham, which is obviously probably going to be a no-go here. And then Quan Alexander, who I don't think that would be a bad direction, or at least a bad guy to take a look at, because I do think that he could probably still help you at this point of his career. All right, coming up.